The man next to me needs no introduction. He's the mayor of Westchester, the czar of everything Florida history, and definitely is a guy who probably needs walkout music to do a proper introduction. Dr. Carter Burrus, how are you?
Fine, and thank you for the great accolades. I'm cool, but I'm not that cool. Okay, I'm good. I'm good.
So let's take a step back. And we're going to get into a whole lot of things today. A lot of people don't know this. You used to be a pretty good football player.
I was at Columbus when we played there. I mean, we only had like 20 guys on the team, and I was the fourth graduating class. Everybody went both ways, and we were the new kids on the block when we got there, and we got beat up by a lot of schools, but we could handle ourselves, and we were never disgraced, but we didn't have the winning teams that we were hoping for. That would come later.
That would come later.
Yes,
like today.
And even in the 60s, the first winning team at Columbus, the first winning season was 1967.
Wow.
And they had this famous quarterback named Lou Pytel that would later on go to the University of Miami. He's passed away since then. But this was the first time Columbus ever beat Gables. Gables was the defending high school mythical champion with Nick Cody's in Dade County. Columbus beat him 13-7 the first game, and this was monumental. That game ball is still at Columbus today in their one of their archives areas where it's on display. You can see it.
Really? I went to school that I'd never seen it. Nope. I got to go definitely check it out.
If you go in there, I'll take you and show you.
There you go. And then, listen, you're a native Floridian.
Well, not really.
Not really. Okay.
Okay. Both my parents were in the Navy, United States Navy. And my mother was a Navy nurse. My father was on a ship. And this is before World War II started. I mean, I'm going to be born in the middle of World War II. Yeah. And my father was transferred off a ship called the Reuben James that's going to be sunk before World War II starts by a German submarine. He was transferred off a month before for a medical condition. My mother was a Navy nurse that took care of him. And then I showed up in Norfolk, Virginia. And at age 3, my father came down for rheumatic heart disease, and I'm here since 3.
Wow. And where did your love and sort of thirst for history and learning about Florida and making it your career, where did that come from?
Well, I always knew I loved history. I had a great history teacher at Columbus, Brother Edmund, and I had him for 2 years. They don't do that anymore. But I had a natural curiosity how things took place and why did it happen and where do you go with it and how do you follow it? And it's just a natural curiosity. And my dad, every night we would sit and watch Walter Cronkite on television. And still to this day, I'll get 2 hours of news coverage either on the radio or watching it on television every single night. In college, all the fraternity guys out drinking, partying out. Yeah. I'm watching the news every single night, local and national, and several of them. But I've always just had a natural curiosity for these things.
And when did it sort of pivot into, hey, I want to study, Florida and the Everglades and the history of Florida? When did that start?
Okay, I've always had a history of Florida. Always was interested in the history of Miami. And while I was at Columbus, I decided I'm going to go for my doctoral degree. And I had a sailboat, and I loved every weekend. I would get in my sailboat, and I would sail to Elliott Key and spend the night. Friday night, this is before it was a park, Biscayne National Park. It was a county park. And Bebe Rebozo owned property down there called the Coco Lobo Club, which the park bought out. And his, I think it was his son-in-law was the sheriff of this. It was a city called Islandia. So I would go out there for every New Year's, every Christmas, always out there. And this was to me what Florida was going to be like. And a funny thing on that, I lived in New York for a year. And when I got married, my wife at the time said, we'll get married in New York, right? And then I want to go and finish my degree in New York. I said, that'll be fine. But I'll figure out how we're going to get there. Yeah, that'll be fine. She had no idea. I said, we're going to take this little sailboat, 25 feet, and sailed it all the way to New York, spent a year there in New York, and then we came back. But while I was at Columbus, I said, I'm going to major in history, but I'm going to specialize in Florida history. Yeah. When it comes time to do the dissertation, I had several choices. Should I do it on the Seminole Indians, on the Miccosukee Indians? And then Biscayne National Park was called Biscayne National Monument. That's the progression as it becomes the federal government. And they said, I thought, well, maybe I could do the history of the Biscayne National Park or monument because no one's ever done this. I was very good friends with the park rangers, and I said, okay, how about this? When you go into a ranger station and you have like a movie or a slideshow of what happened in that park and the history, you're brand new. You don't have a history. I would like to do that. Checked with my doctoral dissertation committee. They said, yes, go ahead, do that. Go ahead and make this slideshow. And I said, I've never done this before. They said the federal government said, we will train you. We'll send you to Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, and we're going to train you how to make one of these. I said, okay. And so for the next 8 years, I'm going to take film and slides and interview people and put it all together. And my dissertation was the history of the islands and the waters of the Biscayne National Park, and which I have taken since then. And remember, this was a slideshow at the time. Yeah. There was no video or CDs or anything. This was a slideshow. So I had to slide between 40 slides, 20 on a reel, and they would blend together. So I had to go look at other parks, how they did it, and they taught me how to do it. And then I did it. And it was on for about 10 years at the park. If you wanted to find out about Biscayne National Park, you would go into it and you would watch my slideshow. And then they would use my dissertation, my book, to train new rangers because they come from all over the country about all the things that happened in the Biscayne National Park. And a lot happened there.
Give me some of the things that might have happened there that the typical person wouldn't know.
Robert E. Lee, who was a United States military officer when he was a lieutenant, traveling around, he stopped in the area. Audubon, when he was going down the coast of Florida on his way to Key West, creating his elephant portfolio of birds, he stopped there and took pictures of that. Pirates, legendary pirates, and this has never been proven historically, the legendary pirate Black Caesar, supposedly, and there's a Caesar's Creek between Elliott Key and Adams Key going down to Key Largo. And the legend always goes, there was this black pirate named Caesar, Black Caesar, and he would go out and he would capture the boats and then sail back in there. And all my research, and I did all the research I possibly could, nobody like that ever really existed. There was no documentation, but it still goes on today. And all the property on Elliott Key had been purchased or acquired by the federal government. A lot of people weren't real happy about it. Of course, if you own property there. And there were several people that were allowed to stay. They took their land and they said, we're going to buy it, but you can stay here for a life tenancy. And one of the men that was able to stay was a man called, this is his official name, Sir Lancelot Jones, black man. And he had a house right there on Caesar's Creek. So this fits right in with the legend and the aura. And this guy was a fishing guide. And he also farmed sponges because they used to grow commercial sponges off of Elliott Key. And he would tell me, I said, well, you're a fishing guide. Who were some of your favorite people? And he's passed away now. I went to his funeral. And he would say, that Herbie Hoover, he sure was a really fine gentleman. He was a real sports fisherman. Everybody had been down there. Nixon, Johnson, Roosevelt, all of them. Yeah. All the presidents going back to past Herbert Hoover. And they had stayed at this Coco Lobo Club, which the last owner before the park took it and it burned down was Bebe Rebozo was acquired. Yeah. But it's just, going there and talking to these people, someone like that who had that kind of experience. They let one other lady stay there on the island until she passed away, which she did, until when Hurricane Andrew came in, they left because everything got destroyed. Right. So no permanent residents living there. lady named Virginia Tannehill lived on the ocean side with her husband. And I would go and interview her and talk with her. And I said, what are some of the experiences? And they would collect things, anything that falls in the Atlantic Ocean, sweeping up on the shores.
Mm-hmm.
So they had all kinds of stuff. So I said, what's the coolest thing you ever found? And she said, you would really want to know the coolest thing you ever found? I said, yeah, what is the coolest thing you ever found? And she went over to her desk and pulled out a silver coin that was minted in the 1500s in Mexico. She said, my husband and I found this washed up on the beach. Now, silver, when it stays in the water, it oxidizes and turns black.
Mm-hmm.
So it was in a box. The box had disintegrated, but all you had was this black casing. She said, we took it apart, we cleaned it all up, and we have these coins. I said, that is like said, you think it was pirates? I don't know.
Right.
Who else is going to leave a 1500 coin there?
Yeah.
And I said, that is cool. I'd like to have one of those. And would you sell me one? She said, nope, they're not for sale. So the last time I interviewed her, I'm walking off her dock, and she had 2 Dobermans with her too. And if they didn't like you, they could make you jump in the water. And she said, here, I have something for you. And she held my hand and gave me that coin.
Wow.
And so I still have that coin to this day.
That is cool. So the modern day, the Everglades, what's going on, preservation, what do we need to know? Just so an average guy, I was talking before we taped this to someone, I said, if we walk down, we're here in Doral, we walked up and down the street, and I said, where's the nearest national park? People would be like, oh, Yosemite. I'm like, little do you know, 20 minutes away, we've got one. And
we have 2.
We've got 2, right?
The only county that's got 2.
There's only got 2. And I'm like, I don't think people recognize the importance, the history, and everything that's going on in the Everglades.
Well, the Everglades, and just like Biscayne National Park, Everglades National Park is very, very special and unique. That means when the federal government gives it the designation of park, that means if anything happens to it, there's nothing else like it exists ever anywhere in the world, and it's never going to come back. So once they gave it that designation, and they started back in 1947 with the Harry Truman and moving all the way up, and finally to this expanse it has today right up to Tamiami Trail. It's so special that it has to be protected. But it's not just the boundaries of the Everglades National Park. Of course, it starts up in Lake Kissimmee. Mm-hmm. This is where the water comes from. Right. Water is the key. And it comes from Lake Kissimmee, comes down the Kissimmee River, comes to Lake Okeechobee, and from there it comes down to us. But it's been so managed by people, industrialists, and people wanting to change it and use it for agriculture that it really lost what it originally was set out to be. Today, this is an attempt. What we're trying to do today is bring it back with all what they're trying to do is manage the water as close as possible to the way it originally was. And that's going to be almost impossible because there's so much humanity here now. I mean, you'd have to displace so many people. But what we have to do is protect what we have here today. And they're doing it by putting all these conservation areas. If you go along Highway 27, which I do all the time, you'll see they've taken over certain parts on the sides and they're reclaiming it, making it come back the way it used to be. Because when you do that, it acts as a filter with the water coming down, which has a lot of nutriments in it from either farming or cows, cattle production coming down, and it gets filtered out. And as it comes down and it finally goes to the Everglades, and as a matter of fact, on Tamiami Trail, they're raising it 3 feet now. The project's almost completed. And so the water can have a more natural flow going down to the Everglades. The water level is going to rise. Now, not everybody likes the water level rising. Sure. If you're a Miccosukee and you're out there and you've got everything set the way it is, and then all of a sudden the water of South Florida Water Management or the Army Corps of Engineers tell you you're going to raise the water level up, that what happens to your property and your homes.
Correct.
And also there are certain animals that have adjusted their habitat around a certain level. But all this has to be worked out. It goes back and forth between, this interest. But the final thing is people are interested in the Everglades. They want to protect the Everglades and keep it the way it is. Interesting enough, most of the people that see the Florida Everglades see it on airboats. We have these airboat concessions all the way down Tamiami Trail.
Yep.
They've been taken over by the federal government, their property.
Okay.
But the people that owned it before are now concessionaires. They see thousands of people go into the Everglades to see it that way. Because you're right, we were talking before, if you're going to drive down to Everglades National Park and go down to Flamingo, it's off the beaten path. It's not the general path. But they can bring people from Miami Beach and from over on the West Coast. They can come across Tamiami Trail, go to one of these commercial airboat places and go out and get a look and see what this looks like. They can't get a complete look, but they can get a look and see what's out there. They'll see an alligator, rosette spoonbill, herons. They can see it all.
Yeah, I've done it, and it's really, really cool. I mean, I'd highly recommend anybody doing it. It's funny you bring up the alligators. The Everglades seems to be getting a lot of press of just the call it the ecosystem being disrupted by pythons and other animals that people dump. What's the latest there?
Okay, of course, we all know about the pythons. They say it started after Andrew when somebody down in Homestead had a facility. They got loose. They just went out. This is a natural environment for them. It's not their native environment, but it's perfect, like where they came from. Right. Some people had them as pets, got tired of them, threw them out there. It's perfect. Now, they have no known predators, although I saw one on television the other day with a alligator with a python in his mouth. And, of course, a few years ago, there was a picture of a python that exploded after eating an alligator. But I have never personally seen, and I've been out there for 40, 50 years, I've never seen a python. They are so stealthy. They just are really ambush kind of predators that they just sort of lay in wait and wait for something to happen. And you really have to go out with a definite purpose to find them. There are people that professional python hunters. They go along the levees and the roads at night. They look like their vehicles are from Mars because they're going along. They have lights all over the place, and they try to find them. But if you go along a road out there, every once in a while you'll see one coming across, and of course, you're supposed to capture it and turn it in, and so then they can investigate and see what it is. But there's all kinds of research that they're doing with trying to eradicate, but it's going to be impossible. And they're moving north. Moving north. I go to Lake Kissimmee sometimes and go airboating up there, and they've seen a few pythons up there, but they are so stealthy.
And has it been super disruptive, or is it overblown?
Well, no, it's super disruptive. As a matter of fact, when we used to go out in the Everglades 30 years ago, see raccoons, possums, rabbits, nothing is there.
Really?
These guys, they've eradicated everything. And also deer, the deer population, they've cut down on that. So they are definitely disruptive to the native population. Bird life, I've noticed myself that in the winter is when you see all the birds coming in to nest, and they come from up north to warmer temperatures down here. But it's definitely had an effect on the wildlife.
Wow. And so what's the solution? Is it just like man hunting them?
They're doing all kinds of experiments. One thing is like they'll capture a python.
Yeah.
Rather than kill it, they'll put a GPS on it and they'll track it like a female. Yeah. And all the males will come over toward it because they mate in bunches. Yeah. They'll come like that, and then they'll be able to track it and see where it's going to go. So they'll use it as sort of a lure like that. So they've done that. They've talked about sterilizing them if they can, but it's an ongoing project, and they don't see anything in the near future that's going to do this. They've had these python hunts where people go out, but they're just getting the tip of the iceberg on this one. But at least people are aware. Yeah. But they're the normal person that wants to go out and enjoy and preserve the environment that is the Everglades. There's not a whole lot you can do other than support the Park Service and the people that are trying to eradicate these.
Yeah, they're going to mess up the whole ecosystem.
Well, they already have.
Yeah.
And but I can honestly tell you that you're not going to find raccoons and possums, and the bird life is definitely diminished. But they want to see if they can bring it back, with controlling these water levels and trying to get it back to a natural flow.
You have an airboat.
I do have an airboat.
How often are you taking it out? What's airboat culture like compared to like sailing culture?
This is completely different. The only
crowd too.
The only reason that I got an airboat was I used to be a sailor. Is I used to go duck hunting in Lake Okeechobee, which is a big duck hunting area, and it's very highly regulated, and you can only go certain times a year. You have to have a license. You can only use certain types of pellets, steel pellets, because they don't want lead. It will hurt the environment and get in the ducks. And so, I said, you know what, I'm tired of going with these people in their airboats, and I think I'm going to get one myself. And so I got one, and it was a complete disaster. And because I bought it off the street, not knowing a lot about how it works or anything. And there's a story connected with that I could tell you later. So then I just said, well, okay, let's upgrade. Let's get this next one, and let's get this next one. And each time you get one, you learn about it. It's not for everybody, and it's a driving an airboat. They have no brakes. There's no. I've never seen anybody with a helmet. They are wearing life vests now. There's no buckling in. You don't want to be buckled in because if you tip over, you want to be able to get away from it.
You tipped over?
Yes, and but it's extremely rewarding. The thing I like about it is it takes you to a place that you would never, ever get a chance to see. Like I go out in what we call the Everglades, not Everglades National Park, because you're not allowed to airboat in Everglades National Park except in one area. And that's the Airboat Club that I belong to is grandfathered in to go in this area. But on the other side of Tamiami Trail is an area called 3A. They give them like little letters and numbers. And I go 20 miles in between Alligator Alley and Tamiami Trail, and you could literally be in another world on Mars. And you just go out there, and then you can see all the cypress trees, all the orchids, all the air plants, bird life, everything. And turn the engine off and just sit out there and marvel at how wonderful this is. But the duck hunting originally made me do it. I don't do duck hunting much anymore, and also alligator hunting, which isn't like television, like the guys in Louisiana. This is highly, highly regulated in this state. And I haven't done that in the last couple of years because you have to get a permit by lottery, and I haven't gotten one. But that's really exciting. That's where the hunter can be the hunted. And but it's not for everybody. Not everybody would think this is a good thing. But for me, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. But I go out about. The summertime is not a good time to go. Although I have a canvas top on my boat, like you'd have if you went out in the bay. And if you went without a top in the summertime and something happened, I mean, there's no AAA, no one's coming to save you.
Yeah.
You risk your life.
Really?
A dehydration, probably this is how most people die. But you have to be, when an airboat, you have to be prepared for everything. So I have a duplicate of everything. I'm totally replicated here with batteries, 2 batteries, VHF, emergency phones. I have 4 because all it takes is one time for something to happen. And I have 10 people that I can call, fellow airboaters. Come get me. No matter what they're doing, where they are, they'll be there to help you. The same with me. They call me.
You're there.
I'm there. So it's like a brotherhood of these airboaters. Florida, Dade County only has like 100 registered airboaters because they have to register like a car. And Broward County has about 150. The largest county for airboaters is Polk County up in the middle of the state. And they have hundreds up there, but everybody up there goes airboating. That's their sport.
Yeah.
We have so many things down here that to see an airboat going down the road is very rare. You would never see that. But it's not for everybody, and it's a very unique group of people that go. Matter of fact, my airboat club that I belong to, the Airboat Association of Florida, out on Tamiami Trail, I'm a board member. I'm going to their meeting on Thursday night, and we sit around and talk about Everglades, how we save the Everglades, what we can do to protect the environment, and just have a brotherhood among the airboaters. And it's the same. There are about 10 airboat clubs in the state of Florida. And then there's a larger agency called the Florida Airboat Association, which is an umbrella organization of all the airboats, all the airboating clubs in the state of Florida. And I'm a board member on that too.
I was only half joking when I said the mayor of Westchester. You've had a remarkable life, man. You're involved in so many things. How many, let me start off with, how many Hall of Fames are you in?
Okay. The Columbus Sports Hall of Fame, the Columbus Hall of Fame that they have for everybody that, they deem worthy to go into it, which I'm honored to be in both those. The Arbiters Hall of Fame,
which is the most important.
Which is that one's got to rank right up there. That is beyond. I started going to Arbiters. It was established in 1959. Columbus was started in 1958, and Arbiters started on Flagler Street. I knew Mr. Arbiter, and I was going there in high school.
Wow.
Then it moved over to 8th Street. It was connected with Dairy Queen, and it's already been on its present location about 45 years. So I've been going there from Mr. Arbiter, passed away. His son, Ronnie, who took over, was a tremendous human being. I've been going there since then. And now Dave, who runs it. Mm-hmm. And I went there last night. And as a matter of fact, they even have a hot dog named after me, the Carter Burrus hot dog. And I've modified it a little bit now. It's more like the Grant Miller hot dog. And if you're in the Hall of Fame, then they may name a hot dog after you. Let's see. Some of the Ron McGill's in the Arbiters Hall of Fame. He's very proud of that, as in the Hall of Fame. And I'm trying to. Ileana Ross-Layton and her husband Dexter, they're in the Arbiters Hall of Fame. John Linsky's at the Hall of Fame.
It's a who's who of Miami legends.
Well, this year going in, and I'm going to let the cat out of the bag a little bit on this one. We're going to have Dr. Joe Greer, a Columbus graduate, class of 74, a man who's got the MacArthur Genius Award, which is real big, and the Medal of Freedom. I mean, he's the only Columbus student that's ever had the Medal of Freedom. And so he's got, and the MacArthur Genius Award, he's going in. There is a chance, and I'll confirm this, that we may be having Emilio and Gloria Stefan, who are Westchester Arbiters people, going in. Not confirmed yet. We're still waiting for confirmation on this, but it could be huge.
Now, I understand there's a Arbiters board of directors that you're on.
There is, well...
And there's board of directors meeting. What goes on in these meetings?
Okay, well, it's really interesting. The people that are involved, of course, Dave Arbiter, myself, Grant Miller, who sometimes will go rogue. He because we're supposed to sit around and discuss who we're going to nominate and who is going to come in. But sometimes Grant will just go crazy, go rogue, he'll meet somebody on the street. Hey, you want to be in the Arbiters Hall of Fame? And then all of a sudden he'll say, I've already asked him. I can't unask him. Grant, we can't do this. And as a result, we had like 20 people inducted in. Usually it's about 3 or 4. Mark Bonacani was one of the first to induct in. And, he was very humble. He's a great Arbiters guy. He loves Arbiters. But we've had some noteworthy people go in there.
Now, something happened.
And you might be one of them.
We'll see. I'm a big fan of the hot dog. And he was on the, David was on the podcast. But all right, so big controversy. There was an event a couple years ago, your famous bench press contest at Arbiters.
Yes.
And a couple things come from it. I asked Dave, I asked Patrick from Pink Floyd's Barbecue, John Linsky. There was a rumor that during the bench press contest, when you benched, that the spotter may have helped you a little too much. No, will you set the record straight?
There's absolutely no truth in that. All right, here's what happened. I'm going to give you the whole story. You want the story? You're going to get the friggin' story right now. Okay, I used to be a pretty good bench presser. I had the Columbus bench press record for 20 years, 345. I'm really proud of that. It stayed there. 345 isn't that much today, but back then it was a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, since then, I've had 3 knee replacements, 2 hip replacements, and 2 shoulder replacements. Now, once I could always do 300. Up to 50 years old, I could do 300. I could still maintain that. I've been bench pressing since I was 12 years old, and I'll still go today. I'm going to go bench press. When I got the shoulders replaced, I couldn't do it anymore. It just wouldn't happen. So I started just doing machines. About 3 years ago, I said, you know what? I think it's time to go back. time to go back. And so I went over and I just grabbed the bar, which, as you know, weighs 45 pounds. Started pushing it up. A little painful, but I could do it. Then I just started adding more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And all of a sudden it started, I said, oh my goodness, I can't believe you're doing this. At your advanced age, at this time, I'm like 87 or 88. I said, I can't believe this. So Grant features himself as a great bench presser.
Yeah.
There was a student that broke, he broke my record. His record is going to be broken. His name is Adam Lambden.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Okay. He's retired now, but he was CEO of the insurance company. Adam was one of the people that I deemed the most unlikely to succeed from Columbus.
Okay.
A Jewish guy going to Columbus, wearing his star, loved it, played football, bodybuilder, proud of Columbus. He loves Columbus. He and I lifted weights together. I stayed in contact with him when he went to Florida, when he had all this success in business, which nobody would have predicted. He took offense to the fact that he wants credit for breaking my record. So we stayed in contact. I said, well, okay, we're going to have the Arbiters Hall of Fame. Adam, you want to come to it? Yeah, we're going to do a bench press contest. And Grant Miller's going to run it. So here comes Adam. And I didn't think they would do it. They brought a bench. And they brought a thing, and they invited anybody in the world to want to come and do bench presses for this. So they had some of these big musclehead bodybuilder guys, and they're going in there. So I got in there, and I figured, well, I got rules on this thing. So we get in there, and I do my bench press. This one guy's does like 350, 360. He says, I guess I won the trophy. I said, not so fast, young man, not so fast. This is the way it works. Your age subtracted from my age, and for every one of those years, you have to beat me by 10 pounds. So by my estimation, you'd have to bench press 3,000 pounds to beat me. Well, you can't do that. Hey, my bench press contest, sorry. So I won. And then I was awarded the trophy, which stayed on the shelf in Arbiters until recently somebody knocked it over. But I was proud of that.
So how much did you put up at that point?
Okay. Good. I'm glad you asked me that. At that one, I probably did 250.
Wow.
Now, which is a lot. At this age, not compared to what I used to do. So I kept going, and I said, oh, this is a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun. I'm just going to put some extra weight. And I went up to 275. And I was so impressed. I said, you know what? You might be able to go. Now, I got braces on my elbows. Right. And I mean, because this is dangerous when you get this old to risk this on your body, because as you get older, your joints, they don't hold up the way they used to. So I went into the cardiologist one day, whose son went to Columbus, and he said, take your shirt off. And, okay, we're going to plug you up and do stress tests and everything. He said, you've been pumping iron pretty well, haven't you? I said, yes, sir, I have. He said, you're almost 80, aren't you? I said, yes, I am. He said, this is more than just normal pumping iron, what you're doing. I can see this on you. I said, well, I've been doing it since I was 12. And he says, you have a little heart murmur. Now, I don't know how scientific this is, but it sure worked on me. He said, it's a little leakage of blood coming out of your heart. Nothing to worry about. You're fine. You're fine. He said, and he held his hand up like a ball, and he went, poof. Poof. When you're pushing that much weight up, there could be a lot of stress on your heart that could be dangerous. My suggestion to you as your cardiologist is just to do machines and do repetitions, and don't do that anymore. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. And so I said, no more. I'm going on machines. Everything is machines. There's no more free weights. So I got up to 275.
Sheesh.
I was really happy with that.
Yeah.
Some of my friends, I have a video of it, if you like, not the 275, but a 255 video in the gym at where I work out at the Jewish Community Center and over at Columbus Gym.
Yeah.
And so I was pretty proud of that. But as far as bench press goes anymore, I'm afraid it had always been, our friends would always say, what's the true sign of manhood? It's another man walking up to you and say, what you benching? And then you give him an answer. What you you've heard that. Your brothers have said that.
Of course.
What you benching?
There's a reason why I'm wearing an Arnold Schwarzenegger t-shirt right now.
How many times have you been asked that? What
a million
you
times.
benching? Okay, you got to be a manly man to understand this. I mean, the women would look and say, well, you guys are weird. What are you doing this? What you
ogres.
benching? And Grant Miller knows exactly when you go to Grant, what you benching, Grant? He'll know.
He'll know his
because
bench.
he's got 2 bodybuilder sons, so they know about it.
You're also big in, okay, so pickleball's having its moment, paddle's having a moment, tennis a little bit of a spike. When will handball, your sport, have its moment?
I think it's over.
Why?
I've been playing with the same people. Handball is like racquetball. For those of you who don't know, you hit it with your hands. You have gloves on.
It's a manly racquetball.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was ancient. They were doing this many hundreds of years ago. You wear gloves to absorb the moisture. It's not to protect your hands, because if a racquetball gets wet, nothing happens. This ball gets wet, it just skips all over the place. So I've been playing with the same group of people. They're all like my age. And of course, we don't move around as fast as we used to. We play over at the University of Miami, and sometimes they get sick or something. And so we're still playing. We're still doing it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You want to go to the University of Miami and see us? We're playing. And but it's the most addictive thing besides weight training that I've ever been involved with. I just, once you say, come on, you've had knee replacements, hip replacements, don't you go do something? Nope, this is it. And they've all had replacement parts, and they keep doing it too. And there's only like 4 or 5 of us left there in Miami. There's over on Miami Beach, there's a mecca of where everybody from up north, and they come down in the wintertime, they go over to Flamingo Park and play. And we've even had like world champions over there. And there's another group in Fort Lauderdale. But as far as longevity, and I can't see it. We try to get younger people play, but you got to be pretty dedicated. They're not even playing racquetball much anymore, because over at the University of Miami, after COVID, we're the only game. There's nobody playing racquetball. It's just us.
It's all pickleball now.
Yeah.
That's the news.
Yep. And
how did you get into handball, of all things?
Okay. I'm in college.
Yeah.
They had something called paddleball, where it's like racquetball, but you hit it with a paddle. And some fraternity guys that I knew said, "Hey, you want to learn how to play this game?" I said, "Yeah, okay." And Michigan State. And it was, I said, "Oh, this is so cool." And I had my whole academic schedule revolving around weight training and playing handball. Everything, all the classes were in the morning, handball, weight training in the afternoon. When I got out of school, started teaching at Columbus, same thing, still going on today.
Wow. How many days a week so you play handball 3 days a week, and what about weight training?
3 days a week.
Wow.
Saturdays off.
Good for you, man. Good for you. It keeps you young. For sure.
I love it.
I love it too. Yeah. I mean, I try to exercise every day. And what I tell people is, number one, it's actually a mental thing for me, right? It's just a relaxing or challenging thing to start my morning. 2, it's for fitness. And then 3, it's just to look good, and that's important.
And keeps you healthy. And I don't take my phone in with me. I leave it locked in my car. I just want to focus on what's happening in there. This is my little special time to be in there weight training. And it only takes about an hour, but I look forward to it.
Yeah.
As you do.
Well, it's funny. And all the longevity things you see now is about resistance training, right?
That's what this is.
And just packing on muscle. I think it's, you lose half a pound of muscle every year if you don't do anything. Once you turn 50 or something like that.
That's exactly what happens. Your muscles will atrophy and you'll lose it. You can slow it down, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, great. All right. I have a surprise for you today. So
a surprise?
A real good surprise. So fans of the show have been on Twitter, and they've been tweeting us questions to ask you. They're either fans of you or fans of, I don't know these people, but I know their Twitter handles.
These are just coming in as we're speaking?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Just random questions. This guy, I have no idea. Pink Floyd Barbecue.
That's Pat Shee.
He says, ask him about his moonshine.
Okay. Well, it just so happens that when you go out in the Everglades and you airboat, you run across people that have different hobbies. And I happen to have run across some of these people. I assume it's for recreational use, to make your own type of alcohol. And the one that I seem to like a little bit is coconut moonshine. And they use that term moonshine for, it's used just for personal recreation use. But I happen to get some, and I'll share some with a friend every once in a while. But it's still out there.
It's still out there.
Yeah.
The coconut moonshine.
Well, I mean, the coconut part is and the moonshine is, but it's just who makes it. It's kind of like a well-kept secret, but I can get some every once in a while.
You know where to find it. All right, the next
to be used only for good, not for evil.
There you go. I like it. The next question comes up from a guy named Hot Dog Dave. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Is that Dave Arbetter? Yeah, no. A hot dog is its own brand of whatever it is. We're still not sure what it is, but it's its own unique characteristics, not to be confused with anything else. No, it is not a sandwich. And don't ever try to put ketchup on a hot dog. That is for both.
It's a sin.
Oh, yeah. It wouldn't be right.
Yeah, wouldn't be right. All right, next guy, Eddie Masked Wrestler. He says, who's, in all your years at Columbus, who is the toughest guy?
Wow, man. You mean physically fighting somebody?
I think so. Or just a tough SOB, who knows?
Okay. There was one gentleman, because I went to school back in the 60s, graduated in 62, and there were two brothers that were at Columbus, are both passed away now, called the Ellison brothers. If you were from the 60s and you're old enough to remember, Jack Ellison was our quarterback on the football team. He was a football player at St. Teresa in the 7th grade playing high school football.
Wow.
He was one of the most phenomenal people I've ever seen as an athlete. But you ever see these movies with Charles Bronson, for people that remember Charles Bronson, and Clint Eastwood when he's like a street fighter going in? This guy was the consummate. He was our football team captain. This was the badass dude that ever walked the face of the earth. But there have been other tough people that I've come across. He's one. One of the other people that I've come across was a man called Mike Flynn, who graduated in 1970, I believe 1970. Mike Flynn, who went on to Auburn to play football. Pretty badass. From the 80s, Julio Cortez. Who happened to be partners with Jim Linsky from down in Belize. Julio Cortez happened to be pretty badass. He's a Westchester, and I happen to see Julio every once in a while. Calm, mild-mannered, very, but
don't get on his wrong side.
No, well, I don't know. I mean, he's older now.
Yeah.
But back in high school, so I would put those three guys. But I'm sure, everybody's got their own. I mean, sure, they got karate guys and all kinds of things like that. But you want to talk about just a basic street fighter, and there might be somebody calling in saying, "Oh yeah, I remember Julio, the king of Westchester. He lives on the West Coast now, and he comes back to Columbus football games. These guys are all still loyal to Columbus." Really? And Jack would too. As a matter of fact, and let me tell you a Jack Ellison story.
Go for it.
Okay, I used to run this thing at Columbus called the Gathering of the Decade, because it's hard to get people to come back just like one class because they're older and they can't go. So I would do everybody from 1959, Mike Carricart, who always shows up, to 1969. Okay. And I had one about 10 years ago, and I called the Ellison brothers. They live on the West Coast. Okay, Jack, Tommy, we want you here. I don't know. Come on, you're part of Columbus. You got to be there. Okay, we're going to have the first night. It's a 2-night affair. First night in Duffy's Tavern, right on 8th Street. Iconic Duffy's Tavern.
It's a Columbus hangout.
Columbus. I was going there with a fake ID in high school. So I'm sorry. My mom and dad aren't here, so I'm fine. Okay, so we're sitting there having a gathering over there in Duffy's, and there are people on a Friday afternoon sitting around the bar, coats, ties, businessmen, lawyers. You see everybody in Duffy's, ditch diggers, everybody. This guy tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "What's that group over there?" I said, "That's a Columbus reunion from the 60s. And he looked at me, he said, "You don't think the Ellison brothers are over there, do you?" I said, "I know they're over there." Oh my God. When I was in high school, these guys came to a party I was at and they beat everybody up. Oh my God, I'm getting out of here. I said, "Hey, look, pal, they're 75 years old. No. And he threw some money down on the bar and ran out in a coat and tie. I went over to Jack. I said, "Jack, I told the guy that you were over here," and he ran away. He said, "Wonder why?" "Well, look at us. Did we look mean or anything?" I said, No, Jack, he just must have misunderstood or something. But
These are the kinds of guys, their reputation after all 50 years later.
If there was somebody from the 60s that's listening to this, I don't know where there would be, and remember the Ellison brothers, and they were great athletes. Tommy went to the United States Naval Academy, played football there, and but as a matter of fact, Jack's son went to Columbus, has recently passed away this year. But a great family tradition at Columbus.
Just
the Ellison
tough guys.
and they're both in the Hall of Fame.
Are they really? Okay.
Oh yeah, you got to have the Ellison brothers in there.
So give me top 3 football players you saw at Columbus.
Okay, I had 5.
All right, go.
Okay, Jack Ellison for sure.
For sure.
Okay, this guy was phenomenal. Mike Flynn.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike Riley was phenomenal. Now remember, I was gone for 20 years, so there were some really good guys. Johnny Bow, who's a Westchester guy.
Okay.
And he played at Kentucky. I mean, these were like all around, I consider them all around athletes. But there have been phenomenal guys like this guy who came down to the University of Miami, Henry Parrish, who played at Mississippi, came here for 2 years, went back to Mississippi. Yeah. I have never, ever in all my years of watching football ever seen a back. And there have been some great running backs. But as far as all around guys, Alonzo Highsmith, I mean, this guy could have done any position he wanted. He could have been quarterback. He could have been defensive end. He was
naturally built and strong.
No, he was, and he was just naturally. He did the bench press contest at Columbus and the arm wrestling contest and won. And it never hit a weight. When he went to University of Miami and started hitting weights and weight training, he became Godzilla. And I would have been so afraid to have a guy like that across from me. And then after he retired from football and he did that boxing match with Klecko, and that was phenomenal. He destroyed him. Yeah. But Alonzo Highsmith, and I still talk with him periodically, he had to be one of my top ones. Mike Riley, who went to Oklahoma, and Johnny Bow, it was a great deal. But there have been and there was another one that was recently, he went to Alabama. He's in the pros now. His name was Joshua Jobe, a defensive back. Yeah. This guy was absolutely a physical specimen, and he was great. And he never played much offense. He was always defensive. 6'2", 210 as a back. Yeah. Oh yeah. And on a championship relay team.
Yeah, we have I think like 4 guys in the NFL right now, right? Or something like that. I mean, it's impressive, and I don't know how many D1 kids. I mean, the amount of great athletes, and now we're a powerhouse in basketball, which is crazy. I never thought.
Incredible. And then speaking of basketball at Columbus, I'll throw a little Columbus in there. Is that these 2 brothers, the Boozer brothers, they are just totally unaffected, just regular, ordinary honors students. They're in all honors classes. They just go about their day. They're just like everybody else, and everybody treats them just like every other Columbus student. No, nothing pretentious, nothing about them. And I credit their parents for that, because they could have taken them and put them in some special athletic school or something. They want them to have a normal education with a normal environment, and they've done it.
And they're good kids. Yeah. Oh, that's everything you hear about them.
Phenomenal kids.
That's crazy. All right, I got one more question coming in. Let me see this.
Okay, I like these questions.
I don't know who this is, but his name is Almond Bro John. I don't know who that is.
I think that's going to be John Linsky.
Question is, did Oswald act alone?
Very good question. Based on the Ford report, in my opinion, Oswald did act alone. I'm not into conspiracies on this one, so in case you're interested in that, John, I'm sorry. He's by himself.
He's by himself on it. Great. All right, so I have a major announcement. I talked to you before. We'd like to bring back, Tell my brother, the Dr. Carter Burrus arm wrestling contest.
We have a professional arm wrestling table at Columbus that can be used. I have not brought it back, but we could bring it back. You guys were in it.
Yeah. I was at the school when you did it.
Okay. Yeah. We could bring it back. As a matter of fact, we could call it the Areola Arm Wrestling Tournament. We can do that.
But do whatever you want.
You guys want to bring it, because that was, people had more fun with that than you could ever believe. and the bench press contest.
And we want to bring back the bench
Adam
press
Lambden
contest.
wants to bring the bench press contest back. I'm not with the intramurals anymore, but I could certainly
You can
see
pull
what
some
I
string.
could-
You know
I-
people at the school.
I could get things done.
Let's do it. We'll be the title sponsor. We'll put up the
Arm wrestling
funds.
tournament, and we have a professional table, the ones that the pros use that the school was able to purchase, and it's still there. I went and looked at it the other day.
Which is great. Well, let's pull it out. It'd be a great way to raise funds.
I think
it's
we ought to
always
do it.
fun. Get students, alumni, however you guys want to structure it, but we'd love to do it. But where can people find out about supporting the Everglades or any of the many organizations that you're involved with?
Okay, there's several organizations. Friends of the Everglades is right out there, and that you can join them. But there are many private organizations, of course, like the Airboat Club that I belong to, the Airboat Association of Florida. They're doing everything they can because that's what they do. They love the Everglades and they want to maintain it and keep it the way it is. And a misnomer about some people saying, well, when you go out in your airboat in the Everglades, you're kind of wrecking it. No, you're not. You go out and mow your lawn, and what happens? Okay, it grows back. All right. This is the Everglades.
Yeah.
You take your airboat, you drive over it, the grass goes down, it comes right back again. And the Everglades goes through in a dry period and a wet period. We're in the wet period right now. The water goes up.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to last all year, but it never makes it all the time. And when you go through the winter time, and sometimes can't go airboating. There's no water. And but lately with the water and the attempt to try to put water more in the Everglades National Park, the water level has been rising. Again, some people don't like it, but people down in Everglades National Park, this is what we want.
Yeah.
But there are people that have studied this for years and years, are trying to do it, but you're messing with nature. Nature had this thing down, and then man came in and did a lot of renovation. And so now we're trying to see what we can do to get it back the way it originally was. And it's not that easy. This is a difficult task.
Yeah.
But so far, our state government, Governor Santos and the federal government are doing everything they can, it looks like, to bring it back and preserve it the way it is.
Good stuff. I know I speak for a lot of alumni from Christopher Columbus High School that you are a treasure. We thank you for everything. You educated so many young men in this community. I really appreciate you taking time.
Well,
from your
thanks for
busy
being
schedule.
here, and I love the Ariola brothers. I mean, I've had them all at Columbus, and I don't think you didn't get beat up or anything.
I didn't
you?
know. You were great. You were a total gentleman.
Okay, yeah. And but it's been great being here, and you guys have quite a facility here.
Thank you.